There are some more new updates surrounding the next Avatar films, and after learning recently about the introduction of the Fire Navi in Avatar 3, the new details have stimulated some theories I have towards the upcoming sequels. This includes the Fire Navi leader and who has been cast in that role, a big time jump in place for Avatar 4, and some comments on the Earth setting in Avatar 5. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the new details for Avatar 3 and giving my theories on what this could mean for that film and the universe going forwards. Before I get into it though, if you want to keep up to date on any of my future content surrounding the Avatar sequels, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. But without further ado, let's dive into the new updates surrounding Avatar 3 and beyond. So we've been getting quite frequent updates surrounding the future of the Avatar franchise, with both story development set in motion and the news on the success of the recently released Avatar: The Way of Water. Avatar 2 continues to dominate the worldwide box office, on track to become the third highest grossing movie in history in a couple of weeks' time, which just shows that audiences around the world are very interested in the continuation of James Cameron's sci-fi saga. I've done some recent videos on some of the Avatar 3 details, which include that of the new Fire Navi, known as the Ash People, but now we have even more news on that new clan and other updates on what could come after that with Avatar 4 and 5. In a new interview with Empire, the producer of the Avatar films, Jon Landau, has given us some hints on what we can expect in the upcoming sequels. On the Fire Navi in Avatar 3, Landau said, "They are an aggressive volcanic race of Na'vi whose leader is named Farang and is being played by Game of Thrones actress Oona Chaplin, who is also the granddaughter of the great Charlie Chaplin." He went on to say that there are good humans and there are bad humans. It's the same thing on the Na'vi side. Oftentimes people don't see themselves as bad. What is the root cause of how they evolve into what we perceive as bad? Maybe there are other factors there that we aren't aware of. In my last video on the Fire Navi, I talked about my theory surrounding Quaritch being the one to tell this new tribe about what happened with Jake, his history, and his newly formed alliance with the Metkayina. I also said that I think this news will only fuel the Fire Navi's current thoughts towards other Na'vi on the planet and kickstart a potential civil war in Avatar 3. Of course, Jake, the Metkayina, and the Omaticaya still have that big problem to deal with at the new human bridgehead base, as the humans have come to Pandora to literally colonize it following the dying state of Earth. So I think this may all be connected in a big way. Essentially, what if Quaritch goes to the Ash People initially to kickstart a Na'vi civil war that will effectively do what he couldn't, and that's wipe out Jake and the Metkayina from the inside? I think that would be the ideal starting point for a new conflict in the next film, and one that is really intriguing because we're seeing the reverse of the other installments. This isn't humans versus the Na'vi again, it's the developing issues of the Na'vi themselves stemming to a planetary civil war. And you may ask, well, how would this develop and lead to what we'd presume would be a later battle against the militarized humans at their new bridgehead base? Well, I do think we're going to see these introduced tribes eventually team up after their civil war, and the only way that the Na'vi can stand a chance against the humans at that bridgehead base is for them to build an alliance with many other tribes that don't like them to begin with. Tribes that can maybe bring more firepower to that future fight. The Avatar universe seems to be expanding to become a global affair, and with Cameron introducing all these different tribes, characters, conflicts, and spiritual elements too, to me that just makes the most logical sense. So yeah, I think Quaritch will help to kickstart a Na'vi civil war. They'll eventually fight and put their differences aside, and in the process, like I said in my other theory video a few weeks ago, I think Quaritch will also eventually come around and have a transformation creation himself. I think we'll see that his human son Spider will be a big reason for that change, and maybe when he also has a greater understanding of things like Eywa, he'll come around. These understandings and past battles with the Na'vi will give him a reason to change, and going forward, he'll have a chance at reliving, not just in his new Avatar body, but with his refound son. Moving on, it's not just Avatar 3 to think about though, because Landau did also hint about where this could be going in Avatar 4 and 5. In the same interview, he said that there will be a big time jump for Avatar 4, which will then lead into Avatar 5 and its partial setting on Earth. Of course, we learnt in an interview months ago that the producer confirmed that Avatar 5 would visit Earth, and he said in that interview that we'd go to it to open people's eyes and open Ney'tiri's eyes to what exists on Earth now. So starting with that first point, what do I think the big time jump is in Avatar 4? Well, I think it could be one of two things. Either it's to do with aging up the young cast and having them alongside an older Jake and Ney'tiri following a final confrontation with the humans at Bridgehead. Or I think it's to do with that eventual travelling to Earth period in the build-up to Avatar 5 following that previously mentioned war. The way he phrased that quote about the time jump suggests to me that it's more likely to be the latter when it comes to the Na'vi travelling from Pandora to Earth. Just based on everything we've heard and currently know of, my theory would be that we're going to see the big Bridgehead battle take place within Avatar 4, and then I think something will motivate Ney'tiri, the surviving Na'vi, and even the surviving humans to join up, go to Earth and see if they can save that planet or help the humans off it peacefully. The humans have come back to Pandora twice to either aggressively strip its resources or colonize the planet, so now by having won that war, I think the Na'vi, being the nature-loving species that they are, would try to at least help and form some sort of truce for the long term. They wouldn't want to send the humans back to their planet like they did following the first war in Avatar 1, because that didn't solve the tension between them. No, the way to stop the wars and build a brighter future for both species is to start forming some sort of truce and really see the state of humanity in its current dying form so that they can maybe help. Landau had said to Empire in that same interview that there's overpopulation and a depletion of our natural resources that make life harder in Avatar's version of Earth. He also said, "We don't want to paint a bleak picture for where our world is going. The films are also about the idea that we can change course." So having Ney'tiri go to Earth and see that this species is not all bad, like the military presence on Pandora, I think that will change her and really help the remaining Na'vi as a whole to understand that there can be a future where these two species help each other going forwards. Now, when it comes to the ending of that storyline in Avatar 5, I'm not sure whether this means that the Na'vi will help humanity live on Pandora or take them to one of the other nearby moons and let them live peacefully there, but I do think we can start to theorise over some things in the build-up to that final film and the franchise ending. And in particular, I think it acts as another motivator of Ney'tiri's journey to Earth. As I theorised in my last Avatar video, I spoke about how I think Jake Sully will eventually die at that Bridgehead battle. Yes, Sam Worthington and Stephen Lang have been confirmed to star in all 5 Avatar movies, but for all we know, that might mean that they could either star in flashbacks or be in scenes that take place within Eywa. We already saw in The Way of Water that Jake and Ney'tiri could revisit moments or spend time in Eywa with their dead son Netayam, so what's to say that this doesn't become the case for a deceased Jake Sully who sacrifices himself and goes to Eywa? After all, James Cameron said that the studio gave their reaction to the script of Avatar 4 and said that it really shocked them once they read it. So that would be my theory for how things transpire. I think by the end of Avatar 3, we'll see a civil war that eventually ends in alliance, and then in that alliance, Quaritch will help make amends for the past. And then in Avatar 4, I think we'll see the bridgehead battle, with Quaritch now fighting alongside the Na'vi, and a devastating outcome in the process. One where loads of Na'vi die, loads of humans die, and with that, the sacrifice of Jake Sully too. Also, it's key to point out how Landau and Cameron have only spoken about Ney'tiri and her eyes being opened by her visit to Earth in Avatar 5. We haven't heard anything about Jake being there, so that's again another thing that brings this death of Jake idea into my recent theories. But yes, once the battle ends in Avatar 4, I think the remaining humans and Na'vi on Pandora will agree to not let this happen again. I think the Na'vi will show the surviving humans that all of their lives are important and furthermore all connected through Eywa, and I think the death of Jake and Ney'tiri's people in multiple wars over the years will only motivate her, the others, and maybe even a surviving Quaritch to go back to Earth and try to help resolve the decades of issues between them. Enter the big time jump with the surviving humans and Na'vi as they travel to Earth, and the fourth movie will essentially end with Ney'tiri seeing the terrible state of that planet to set up the storyline and themes in Avatar 5. Ones that, if you think about the story of Avatar 1, would be a complete reversal of those course of events. Of course, we can only theorise at this point and bring our own creative ideas to what Cameron will actually do with the sequels, but just in the few details we have had already, it does really get me thinking. There's many directions that the filmmaker can go in, and these brief theories that I have are just the main talking points, and it doesn't include the evolution of other characters such as Jake and Ney'tiri's children, which we are bound to see a lot more of. But that's what I think could happen, and I'm really excited to see which route James Cameron goes in. But that was my video discussing the latest Avatar 3 news and my current theories towards the upcoming films. We'll have to see what James Cameron and his writers do with the storylines, but I think there's definitely a lot of potential with the new characters and plot elements to really elevate this saga beyond what we've already seen. I'm interested to see what the Fire Navi are all about in the next installment, whether that be through their importance to the story or their visual appearance, and I'm intrigued to see how Cameron will eventually transition to that Earth setting by Avatar 5. It sounds like we're leading towards a big thematic message surrounding Earth and the environment, and if we see that through the eyes of Ney'tiri and also the surviving Na'vi and humans, it definitely promises a fascinating close to this journey. But what do you think towards all of the new details? What do you think of some of my updated theories? And what predictions do you have for the Avatar sequels? Let me know down below in the comment section. For much more videos and news on James Cameron's Avatar universe, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.